Hi everyone. Today's session is going to be on how to load the data from S3 bucket, which is already there, about tasty bytes. So before we start showing up the practice, so let us see what exactly the loading data from any cloud into Snowflake. So let us take an example as tasty bytes data, right? So here, if we see whatever that we are going to have, that the data which is on the AWS S3, that data we have to bring into Snowflake. So what are the components or what are the features of Snowflake that we need to utilize? So those are the things that we are going to discuss. So, so when it comes to the AWS S3, that is the first cloud storage that we need the details of that. That is the landing zone of Snowflake data, which will be coming from sources and which will come from the source and landing into Snowflake side. So first thing that we talk about is cloud provider. So either it might be AWS, it might be Azure, it might be GCP. So when we start when we start any project, it's important that we need to have the details about the data providers, cloud providers, and the integration between the cloud provider and the Snowflake. So those are the things that we need to handle it first. So let us see what are the components that we are going to use it as part of this. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so here are the steps that we need. So here, if you see the problem statement, Tasty Bytes is a fictitious data global food truck network that is on a mission to serve unique food options with high quality items in a safe, convenient, and cost effective way. So in order to drive forward on their mission, Tasty Bytes is beginning to leverage the Snowflake data cloud. So imagine this. So within this worksheet, we will walk through the end-to-end process. So they are loading the data, okay, into their getting the data into AWS S3 in the form of CSV file containing menu specific data that is currently hosted in blob storage. Okay, so if for any of the things in Snowflake to run, first thing is we need to have a role to be created, and then warehouse should be assigned, the database should be there in place, and then schema also should be there to create a table. First thing is whatever the data that we are going to ingest from any of the sources, we need to have a table in Snowflake to be created. So where we will create the table under a schema, where that schema will be there under a database. So how to run the queries in Snowflake using a virtual warehouse. That's where we need a warehouse. So this virtual warehouse, for a role, it has to be assigned. So then using that particular role, whoever is having that role, the privileges that they have it, then they can run, they can create the database, they can create schemas, they can create the tables, and they can even do the ingestion. So as part of the ingesting data, so from where we are going to ingest the data? From a cloud provider to Snowflake. So in between, because these two are actually going to be different entities, right? So how they can talk to each other is through integration. So if it is AWS, S3 is the landing zone, and from S3 to Snowflake. And if it is Azure Blob Storage, from Blob Storage to Snowflake tables. Stage, you can say in the medallion architecture, you can keep loading the data into staging the first, then you can think of into the, that is raw layer. So into the silver layer and then gold layer. Okay. And if it is GCP, so again GCP storage to Snowflake. So let us start with the creation of the Snowflake roles, that how they are going to be created. So if I say Snowflake learning role, so use statement is executed. So and then even the Snowflake learning warehouse, which is there in place, use database Snowflake learning DB as well. So here, if you see, we are all setting the context here. This is called the context setting. Roles, warehouse, database, and schema. So here we are setting the schema as, if you see the schema identifier, so it is also executed. Now you see here the schema also Snowflake underscore load underscore SAM. So here one thing that if you observe dollar, right? So dollar is nothing but, so parameter, that there is a value assigned to schema here in the set, and then you are using that in this session. Okay. So this is a session variable. With, if you observe, we set the context now. Now we are ready to create the table. So this table usually based on the file that it is going to be there. So we will create that file. So now what we can do is, as here there is a select star from, because we didn't created the table at all right now, right? So before create a table in Snowflake, what else is needed? What else is needed is a stage. Okay. So first thing is a stage need to be created. So what is that stage? Is the landing. We are going to land the files, that is called landing zone, from a source extract, or by using a producer, or by using a Python script, or anything you can use it, but you will get the data and place it into a cloud provider. So where we are keeping that is the stage location, external stage, because we have different types. We can talk about it in another video, but this is called external. Why we call it as external stages? Because it is, Snowflake is going to copy and ingest the data from an external location, because Snowflake doesn't have its own cloud, right? So it is actually running through these three cloud providers. So as part of that, we need to create a stage. That stage will help us to pull the data. So if you see the URL, so create or replace stage name, and URL equal to, so this is the stage location where you have the files. And what is the file format that we have? CSV file. Okay. So we are going to give the file format for this particular stage. You can create your file format separately, and while here you can provide that type equal to CSV. So type equal to CSV means it is a default one. So when you say file format equal to this and URL is equal to this, so it is binded to that particular stage, and it will use the file format reading. While why we have different formats which can be supported in Snowflake, CSV, Parquet, so XML. These are all, rest of them are like semi-structured. So CSV is a comma separated values. So rest of them like XML and all, they are like semi-structured data suppose. So let us create this stage, then you will see what is there in that stage. So here in a list, so how we have created the stage, right? So if you click on source stages, it will show you the stages. So stages, so whatever the stage that we created just now, so it is showing up the URL and then credentials. owner, who is the owner, region. So if you see this type of that is external, cloud is AWS. So notification, because we have, it is not part of storage notification integration. So it is just a stage, so it is not showing up there. So now in this stage, if you wanted to see what are there, so right. So here, till here, if you say the stage name is blob underscore stage, it will show up to here. From there, what is going to be there in that raw underscore POS and underscore, I mean, slash menu is there is inside that blob stage, whatever the main folder is there, inside that there are subfolders. They are like raw underscore POS and slash menu. If you see how to call the stage, right? So at the rate blob underscore stage. So which means this location till this location. Then slash. So this is a common location for an user who is actually having access to that. So they will be able to query the main folder and subfolders. Today it might be menu, maybe some other fold or some other folders, right? Subfolders will be there. Under raw underscore POS, so menu and then any other subcategories can be there. So if you try to list, right? If you try to list, what it is telling is it is trying to show you there is something called menu.csv.zz. ZZ is the zip format. Okay. Compress, it will compress the data, right? So it is in the ZZ format and zip format, and the last modified MD5 of that is showing up. Okay. So the file name which is there in this location is this file, and the size of the file is this, and MD5 value and the last modified, when it was modified, they are showing up here. So this is to create a stage first, because to access that stage data, we need to create a stage. And how the data is going to be, I mean, in the format of that file, we have provided here. If it is not CSV, then we have to provide what is the file format name. Okay. For example, XML, then XML, and Parquet. So like that, you need to provide it. Now, so let us load the file into whatever the data that is there in that location. So let us load it. So what is the easiest, the one that you are seeing on my screen is very simple one. So we can even look at the documentation, or else I'll do one more video which tells about all the features. I mean, all the options that we have while doing copy into. Okay, so if you see copy into menu table from blob stage, this is the stage that we have created. That is what we have even does the list at the right also. And raw POS underscore menu. So underscore menu, whatever the file which is there, you copy into these files. So if you look at it, so copy into is a menu is the table name. But did we created this table? No, right? So let us create that first and come back. Okay. So here if you see, this is the menu table, the menu ID, menu type, all of them are actually, some of them, if you see, they are creating a number field also. But usually while we are bringing the data from any of the cloud providers to Snowflake or any the data warehousing things, usually the better approach will always be a varchar. So give them while you are bringing the data, ingesting the data into your raw layer, always consider a varchar should be your data type. Why? Because the data types, conversion data types, transformations, not nulls, all those things, let us not put a burden on the extract itself. So while we are pushing the data, while we are ingesting the data into raw layer, let us keep it as is without having any of the transformations, and make sure that you will follow varchar is the data type for all the columns. And if it is a variant data like semi-structured data, you can use variant. That is a different case. So this is what my suggestion. And now let us, I think table menu is already created. So if you see, there is no data at this point of time in this table. Okay. So now let's try to load it, copy into menu, and see what it is doing. Okay. So now if you see, there is a file name which is loaded, status is loaded, rows passed is 100, rows loaded is 100, error limit 1. And if there is no error message, so it is not showing up anything. And for example, now we loaded the data, right? So if we loaded the data into menu, then let us go back and see whether it has any data. It is showing up 100 records here, right? That I have loaded 100 records. Let's see whether it loaded or not. So yes, it is loaded the data, and you can see all the columns which has data. Now, if you see here, this looks little different. Menu item object, right? So this is a variant column. Okay. So this is a variant column. So even here, if you see, the data type is variant, right? So we have loaded the data here. Now let us come back and try to see, like, okay, let us try to load it again. What it tells. If you see, the copy executed with 0 files processed. What it means is, the Snowflake maintains the metadata history, and it will not allow you to load the same file again and again. It maintains the file name, all those things. Okay. So now let us go and see. So there is something called information schema. I can show you, like, so here there is something called load history. So here, if you see, select star from that, select star from load history, it tells you that what it has been processed. So here, if you see, it processed something called Snowflake schema name is this, which is like Snowflake user load sample data from S3, and file name, what it loaded, it is provided, table name where it loaded, status, when it was loaded, row count, first error message, and all those things. There, nothing is there. So apart from loading this, did you see anything else? Because it is able to come here and check whether this file I have already loaded it or not. This is called metadata. Okay, so it tells you about when this file loaded. So that's why it is not allowing you to load. So you can ask that, okay, I mean, what are the possible ways to load it again? If you wanted to reload, what are the possible ways? There are possible ways. One is going to be like, you can truncate this table. Okay, so like menus table, you can truncate it, and then you can reload it. So let me do that. So truncate, okay, if you issue the truncate table, okay, now it is truncated. There is no data here. Shall I try now with copy into? Then yes, you can try it. If you see here, it should load. Okay, this is one trick that Snowflake, in Snowflake you can do it and load it. So what is the other way? I mean, if you again try to load, it will not. Only the way which you can do is, you can truncate this table and then reload it. Either you can delete and load it also. So this is the command that you need to issue. And what is the other way? So there is, you said there are two ways. So what is the other way? So this is another way, is like you can rename the files. Okay. If you think that there is one file which is having an issue, okay, so where if you want to reprocess the same records, then definitely you can just change the name and then reload it. Either you can truncate it, or you can name with a different file name, name the file with a different name, and then upload into your blob or upload into your cloud storage location. Then automatically it will not, it will try to load it. Okay. This is like copy into statement, how to load the data and how to, I mean, what are the steps, like pre-steps that we need before we load the data. Those are like very much important. Like when we are ingesting the data from a cloud provider to Snowflake, these are the major steps that we need to. Before that, there is one more thing also is there, but that needs like a setup of the integration. So that probably I'll try to load. I'll try to create another video for that. But that's more or like an admin task where admin will do one time setup, and that is not going to be every now and then will not change. So it is going to be one time setup. So now we loaded the data and let's see what is there in the load history. Still it shows one. Okay. So now let us query this on the menu. What is the row count? It is there. And suppose what are the top 10, top 10 dot star. Okay. And you can see all these data. Now, if you want to see for a truck brand, this is the only brand is not the case, right? So we have many brands. So let us see like menu item. What happened? Okay. So here you see for the truck brand, what are the menu items that are available? It is showing up. Now, suppose there is something called profit on mango sticky rice. So you can simply do this like sale price USD and cost of goods USD, and this minus this will give you the profit. Okay. If it is a loss, it will show you the loss. So it is showing up 3.75. You can see by loading the data. Now, suppose suppose if you want to extract mango sticky rice ingredients from the semi-structured data column. So we have a semi-structured data column called um, the the object.value. So what they are doing here is basically, if you see there is something called, this is the notion where you can use it for any of the semi-structured columns to see the data. Okay, so here if you see the object.value column. So what is object here is they are flattening. We are flattening the structure of the semi-structured column, which is a variant column, and making sure that it will show as per our requirement. Suppose if you run this, so lateral flatten. So now it gives you like sweet mango, sticky salted rice, coconut milk, and all. So let us see what is there in the data. From a data point of view in the menu, and let's see the what is the column name. This is the column name. So menu item health metrics. Right? Right. See what is happening. Invalid identifier. Let's see. Okay. So now if you click on any one of them, so you can see the data, how it looks like. So what they were trying to see is we were trying to see is ingredients, right? So where is this? So from menu item health metrics. That's why we we did like we flattened the data in such a way that you can get these ingredients in an array form. Okay. So for that literal flatten of what? Input you need to provide from M. Menu is the column, menu is the table. So we make it as aliased it as M. So M dot menu item health metrics objects. This is the column name, colon menu item health metrics. So it just named it, and the entire thing we call it as OBJ. Okay, the alias rate. So that OBJ dot value. So when we do this lateral pattern, it will give you a value. So that is what the value of what? Ingredients. So in the array is the data type. So we are asking in this one. So that's why it is giving sweet mango, sticky salted rice for a mango sticky rice. Okay, here we kept the filters. So the menu item is this and truck brand name is this. So that's why for a mango sticky rice, what are the ingredients it is showing up is in the array form. Okay, so this is how we can load the data from AWS S3 to Snowflake. So we can try in the next video how we can create a stream on top of this table and how you can orchestrate the load from raw layer to your silver layer or else bronze layer to silver layer. How you can move the data, how you can schedule the data. So what are the possible ways? So we can discuss more, and is there all other pointers from this table, how you can progress it, because this is not going to be the end of the analysis, right? So we need to move it. Probably if you want to develop something like dimension modeling, how you can create your dimension modeling without having, because we cannot run these things manually. So even if you see the point over here, I mean, I am limiting the scope for this video to only AWS S3 to raw layer. So while we are loading the data also, we did this manually. So is there any other way? Yes, there are ways. We can discuss the orchestration and how the transformations that are going to be possible. Thanks, everyone. So feel free to put the comments for any new videos on any new topics required, and put your comments for any of your questions in the comment section. Thank you.